You're listening to G-Woman Radio, the 24/7 radio for the gifted, genius, and game-changing woman.
Welcome to the G-Spot, powered by G-Woman Radio. The G-Spot is a bold space for genius conversations with global game changers. Each episode of this live radio show brings together thought leaders, innovators, business owners, creators, and change makers for fearless conversations about leadership, legacy, innovation, and global impact. Now welcome your hosts, Alex Okoroji, Frankie Picasso, Swapna Abraham, Clara Rufai, and Mayuri Naidu.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the G-Spot. You're listening to G-Woman Radio, and my name is Alex Okoroji, and I'm very excited. It's another Friday, and of course, you know how we do it here on the show. I'm so happy that we get the opportunity to connect, with my other co-hosts who are also here. So I'm going to check in with the ladies and see what's going on. Frankie, are you there? Just what's going on? How's everything where you are?
Can I just send a shout out to our sister Mayuri for a speedy recovery today?
Okay.
And Clara.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, we have two of our sisters who obviously couldn't join us today, but, just, praying for them and hoping that, we can connect with them next show. Swapna, are you there?
Yes, I am, Alex. I'm Alex Frankie, and all of us over here. So wonderful to be here again. I'm dialing in from Cochin, Kerala, India, where the weather is just rain and rain and rain. Welcome, everyone.
Well, what would I not give for the rain right now? It's really hot here in Maryland. Today's such a hot day. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I would give anything to have that rain right now. Frankie, what have you been up to? I know that there's so much going on, but what have you been up to lately?
Wow. I've been on a number of shows, which has been really exciting. But next week, I told you guys, I gave you a heads up for my birthday gift that I'm going to be doing the sculpture, the metal welding. Mm-hmm. So that's coming up next weekend, and I'm super excited about that. But we went to see a play last week that was phenomenal, like one of the best plays I've ever seen. And it was about the Japanese internment in Canada and how that impacted the future generations. Amazing. True Wonderful. Story, right? And incredible.
Well, I just think Frankie's just living the life. I think she's living the life. She's always up to something. It's like, I'm out for this, I'm out for that. I'm like, oh my God, I want to be you right now. Well, if you're tuned in, wherever you're listening from around the world, this is still the G-Spot. And we're so excited because we know our guest is here in the studio with us. And unfortunately, our co-host couldn't join us from London and from South Africa, but we know next week it will be a full house, and we're looking forward to that. So just before we bring in our guest, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll come back.
Ladies, listen up. There's a brand new power-packed issue shaking up the media world, and it's coming straight from G-Woman magazine. It's the Global Issue 2025 edition, and it's not just pages, it's purpose. We're talking game changers from the top 50 gifted, genius, and game-changing women to watch, to rising voices, deep conversations, and powerhouse features like our cover story, Dr. Harbeen Arora Rai, founder of the G100, Women Economic Forum, and All Ladies League. You'll find bold interviews, visionary features, and stories that prove one thing. When women lead, the world changes. So, whether you're a leader, a creator, a founder, or just getting started, this issue is for you. Tap in now at gwomanmag.com. That's gwomanmag.com, G-Woman Magazine, where visibility meets power and every voice matters.
Okay, welcome back. This is still G-Woman Radio. This is the G-Spot. And yes, it is where genius meets the global game changer. Like I mentioned before, I'm Alex Okoroji, and I'm joined by my powerhouse co-hosts, the co-founders of G-Woman Media.
Thank you, Alex. And listeners, stay tuned and stay close, because today, like every week, we bring you bold conversations with women shifting culture challenging systems, and creating new legacies.
Indeed. Today's episode is all about the audacity to innovate. And we are thrilled to welcome a game changer who is blazing trails in her field. But wait a minute, and this is Clara's spot, by the way. Before we bring her on, let's give a huge shout out to our G list, the G women. First of all, Whitney Wolf Herd, the digital dating disruptor. Oh, yes, we've heard about her. Her role, founder and CEO of Bumble. Whitney redefined online dating with Bumble, the first major dating app that gives women control over conversations. Her company has since expanded into networking and business connections. Now, what makes Whitney a G woman? It is her vision for women-centric digital spaces, transforming tech and social interactions. In her own words, women should make the first move in business, in relationships, in life. There you go, Whitney, cheering you on. Our next G woman from that G list for the day is Jacinda Ardern, the resilient leader. What's her role? Former Prime Minister of New Zealand, a global advocate. Jacinda made history as one of the most compassionate and decisive world leaders, navigating COVID-19, terrorism, and climate policy, guess what? With empathy and action. What makes Jacinda a G-woman? It is her focus on inclusive governance and leadership with kindness, which set a new standard in world politics. In Jacinda's own words, it takes courage and strength to be empathetic. Over to you, Alex.
Well, thank you there, Swapner. And I always think that G List is truly amazing. Now, if you haven't read our latest top 50 G Women Power List in the Global Issue 2025 edition of G Women Magazine, after the show, make sure to head on to www.gwomanmag.com to read about the amazing, gifted, genius, and game-changing women featured on it. Okay, guys, so I know that we have our guest here, and we'll take another commercial break, and we'll be back.
Are you a gifted, genius, and game-changing woman looking for your tribe? This is your moment. Introducing the G-Woman Collective, a powerful new global hub where women who lead, build, create, and innovate come together to rise. Founded on the premise that women's collective voices hold boundless power. At the heart of our mission lies a powerful purpose: to ignite global visibility and momentum for women everywhere. Whether in boardrooms or broadcasting, the mission is simple: make women seen, heard, and unstoppable. Join thousands of women across continents in a vibrant digital epicenter that's redefining community, collaboration, and visibility. From private forums and global networking to live sessions, masterminds, mentorships, and exclusive media features, including access to our sub-collectives. This is not your average membership. This is your seat at the table. Become a G-Woman ally, G-Woman champion, or G-Woman vanguard, and step into a space designed to amplify your voice, fuel your mission, and elevate your legacy. Sign up now at gwomancollective.com and let's rise together. G-Woman Collective, where gifted, genius, and game-changing women belong.
Okay, welcome back. This is the G-Spot. And yes, it's time to meet the global game changer. So let's get into it. Our guest today is Candy Barone. She is CEO of You Empowered Strong, a leadership development expert, trainer, human design guide, and executive coach. Now, she also is an international speaker, amazing Amazon bestselling author, and host of the podcast Aligned as Fuck. Now, she is a catalyst and change agent, who works with executives and emerging leaders to help bring her back to leadership while feeding the soul of their business. Now, with nearly 20 years in corporate, combined with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, certification as a Six Sigma Black Belt, and MBA, she is a master at building exceptional high-performing teams, maximizing and leveraging ROI, growing emerging leaders, creating metrics for greater accountability, and catapulting individuals to achieve explosive growth. Now, Candy is a tree shaker and helps people get aligned so that they can remember who they are, how to step into their leadership, reclaim their personal power, and step into the fullness of their gifts. Now, she brings in tools, for example, like human design and Gene Keys, to connect people back into their energetic blueprint and individual wiring. Now, Candy believes leadership is a choice and everyone's opportunity, and it all starts with how we choose to lead ourselves first. Now, she was named the 2014 to 2015 VIP Woman of the Year by the National Association of Professional Women. She was also a recipient of the 2015 Public Speakers Association Local Collaborator Award. She was also nominated as a 2015 Profile in Power Central Texas Woman of Influencer and recipient of the 2021 Evolutionary Business Council Unstoppable Award, and was nominated for the 2024 Texas Community Foundation. Now, she's received so many other awards, as you can tell. Now, Candy serves on as the vice chair for Central Table of Grace Board. She's a member of the Dames and Good Deeds Society and is a Legacy Circle member of LifeWorks. And as you can imagine, she's also been featured in different media, including CNN, U.S. News and World Report, and Fast Company, and more. So I would like to say welcome to the G-Spot, Candy. We're so glad to have you here on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It is such an honor to be in the company of such powerhouse women. I am deeply honored to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, Candy. Wow. What haven't you done? The list is so long. My arm doesn't reach that long. But I have a question for you. As I looked at your adult work life, it seems that you have a deep curiosity to see how things work. You like to take them apart and see how they work and put them back together again, maybe even better than before. So from your degree in mechanical engineering to human design and building those high performance teams, all of us have an origin story. So what sparked your journey? When did it start? Were you the little girl who took apart things in the house or asked for a Meccano, or did you play with Barbie?
That's a great question. And no, yes to all. I would say I was what I would call the why child. I absolutely asked why about everything and wanted to get into behind the scenes, underneath, break it apart, including even Barbie dolls. So I would even rearrange those at times. But really trying to understand how things worked, why they were structured the way they were, and then sort of looking at the frameworks of the systems that they were in. And now, as a child, I didn't understand all that necessarily. But if I look back, I've always been sort of a puzzle person who has wanted to rearrange the pieces, take the corner edges, the edge pieces, the picture of the box, and kind of put it to the side and see what you could build instead with the parts and the pieces that you had.
I love that. I think that's what I love about the scrap metal welding. It's like you're taking all these pieces and putting them together and making something new.
Exactly.
Very
100%,
creative.
right? And I think about those puzzles. If you ever went to like Bob Evans as a kid, they used to have those puzzles that if you put them together one way, they'd make like a box. If you put them together another way, they'd make a star. If you flipped them over, they'd make some other kind of thing. And I've always thought about, why do we limit ourselves to just what we think we see or the parameters we're given, when usually those puzzle pieces can be rearranged into different creations and different possibilities? And how fun and cool is that?
That is very fun and cool. Swapna, over to you.
Lovely. Thank you, Frankie. Candy, it's just such a interesting mix that you have over here. But how the engineer moved on to becoming a leadership development expert and Six Sigma black belt, for heaven's sake. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, and I mean, really, that is a story in itself. But you know what? I just wanted to ask, in that transition, Candy, how did you overcome a personalized barrier, something that these shifts don't just happen like that, do they? So you
Mm-mm.
surely have something to share with us. I'm keen to hear, please.
It's so funny. I get that question a lot. People ask me all the time, how does a mechanical engineer with a Six Sigma black belt certification, pro site change management, how does someone like you become an executive coach and then human design? And actually, it's so much more linear than people think.
Right.
Instead of dealing with products and systems and widgets or processes, I'm dealing with human emotion and mindset and the processes of how we function. Because one of the things that's really interesting about introducing human design into the work I do is that it's actually a mechanical system. It's an operating system for how we're
Wow.
wired and how we use energy. And my background as a mechanical engineer, my emphasis in my undergraduate program was energy systems. So I started
Wow.
out as an energy engineer that moved into business development and leadership opportunities because I had a natural skill set to mentor and coach and really develop people. So it's actually a very natural, and I think about even the DMAIC process for Six Sigma. It's the same process we use in coaching. We just call it something different. The whole point of those quality initiatives, those quality processes, is around getting to the root cause of something so that we can become more efficient and effective. Well, I'm just doing that with human emotion, mindset, and people. And so it's a system of relationships. It's a system of how we access and use energy and the energy we're putting into the world as we're interacting with each other. But the baseline approach and how I do my work is essentially the same. It's just called a lot of different things.
It's wonderful when you explain it that way. It makes perfect sense, actually, Candy. It just makes perfect sense. But was there, if we may ask, was there like
Mhm.
a barrier you had to overcome in becoming this version of yourself?
Excellent question. And I would say not to go too deep into human design, but even looking at my design as a 6-2 manifesting generator, that's a
Right.
loaded question because there's not just
Mm.
one barrier. I have literally had 3 phases of a lifetime of when people
Wow.
ask me, Candy, tell me your story. My response usually is, which story do you want from what day and what moment? Because even
Wow.
talking about what was your childhood, what was a defining moment? Do you want the one from 20 minutes ago or do you want the one from 2 days ago? What context, because the way my design is set up is I have experienced a lot of life. And so the bigger
Wow.
barriers that I have faced, one was being a female mechanical engineer in an environments that either didn't even have women that were degreed, let alone
Right.
women who were in STEM and were bringing something different to the table. So my entire career in corporate was fighting an uphill battle in a very male dominated good old boys industry. I worked in, you know, technical sales. I did HVAC, energy systems, working with facilities directors, business managers, not exactly a space where women were invited and still aren't in many cases.
Right.
Healthcare and financial services. So very dominant, good old boy energy and male industries that in and of itself alone created challenges on how do I play the game but play it as a woman?
Hmm.
And how do I assert myself in an environment where I've already got 3 strikes against me in the eyes of those that I'm working with? Because the same rules don't apply. And so I will
Right.
say that was an ongoing challenge and opportunity, which also was a gift because it allowed me to step into shifting leadership paradigms and shifting stereotypes and shifting the way even my clients who initially would say, what's this girl coming? Does she even know what an air handler or a boiler or any of that? And then 5 minutes after I leave would be like, I don't know what just happened, but we're a little scared. So it would shift that mindset and that
Yay.
perspective that then
Yay.
paved the way. I did pave the way for other women to
Good on
enter
you.
into some of those spaces
Mm.
because I was able to stand in a sense of who I was, and not that didn't come with a lot of challenges along the way.
Sure. You make us so proud, Candy. I'm wondering if I'm wondering if you've already answered the question I'm about to ask, but I'm still going to ask you the question.
Mm-hmm.
What's one myth about what you do that you'd like to bust?
Oh God, there's so many myths I'd love to bust. There was one myth I would like to bust. It would be that women's femininity needs to be soft. I
Oh,
think we need to, and I don't, this just dropped in as you asked that. And it's
wow.
really become part of my mission and my message as of late. I am
Hmm.
really over the container and box of how we think an empowered woman is allowed to show up, and femininity needs to be soft, and it needs to be, and I disagree with that. Femininity is strong, it is warrior
Yeah.
energy, and I'm
Ooh,
over this idea that women should temper or dial down the tone and the energy in their voice, their leadership voice, because other people are uncomfortable with the fact that they no longer want to play nice. Because for me,
wow.
the other inside of that myth, the other challenge is really helping people understand that it is a very different energetic frequency, the word nice and the word kind. The Latin root word for nice is nescius. It means ignorant, foolish, and unknowing. And it is a word
Mm.
we label for women, especially in corporate spaces and business environments. Whereas kind is a very high vibe energy that says, I know who I am. I value me first. I'm going to set clear expectations. And when you choose to violate those expectations, there are consequences as a
Right.
result. And it is kind when I let you know that is not okay for me. And here is the other side of that, allowing women to step into a place of kindness that comes from strength, that comes
Right.
from being able to channel a lot of rage for creating change from a very warrior, very grounded, very leadership energy, and that femininity can really look different for different women depending on what you're bringing to the table in your gifts and your design.
Wow. That was awesome. Absolutely fantastic. And if there's one more thing I'm not going to use, nice the way I've used it today going forward. Something I've learned for sure. Brilliant, Candy. Over to you, Alex, for the next.
Well, thank you for that, Swapna, and thank you, Candy, for sharing about, really, in your words, the difference between nice and kind. And I truly believe there's a difference. Really, I think also that we can be kind without being nice, right? We can be,
Mm-hmm.
we can be nice and not be kind, and we can be kind and still not seem nice, right? And unfortunately, we kind of use that interchangeably as if they mean the same thing. But thank you for sharing that. And I was just listening when you were talking about how there really isn't a difference between where you're coming from in terms of your background as an engineer and the work that you do now as a human design guide. And I just had one phrase come into my mind: human engineering. I don't know where that
I
came
love
from.
that. I love that. Yes.
I just thought human engineering, right? And so that was pretty interesting. And you've shared, just how you've lived several lives, and of course, have had multiple experiences, and how the transition has happened. And what came to my mind, really, my interest, and of course, we're talking about innovating, and how human design might just be something that we need to change, the landscape of, how we're showing up and what we're doing. And I guess you probably know better in your line of work. So let me ask, what was that defining moment? We call it the G-spot moment, right? And that G-spot moment is that game-changing moment. That moment when you realize, this is the direction that I need to be going with this. Human design is something I care about, and I want to help people be more. So what was that defining moment for you?
Yeah, I love that question. And I also want to just comment on your statement. Who was it? Eleanor Roosevelt that said once, nice women never create change. Nice women don't innovate. Nice women don't have space to innovate. And it's actually part of my response to your question, because one of the big defining moments for me actually happened as an entrepreneur in my business. I had taken on the wrong client. I actually had a lawsuit in my business back in 2018 I loved on this client. This client was not taking responsibility or accountability to lead herself. It was a contract I should have never taken. But again, we get into our money stories. We get into, I've got to make this happen. I can see potential in everyone. needless to say that through a lot of process and inner work, and then just finally, you know, making concessions around things just to be done with the energy, I went off to a spiritual retreat that gutted me out. And as a mechanical engineer, I was still in, you know, there's things that I'm like, that's a little too woo woo for me. And I came back and I was just raw. And I was running a couple masterminds at the time. And one of my clients, in true form to her manifesting nature, said, you should look at your human design. And I met her with resistance and said, I don't need another woo woo tool. I am completely over the spiritual path right now and a journey. Yet, as is her nature, it activated something in me. And 2 days later, I found myself studying my chart. That week, I found myself not being able to help myself and reading my client's chart, my one-on-one VIP clients, and bringing it into my mastermind. And over the course of the last 8 years, I've had pockets where I'm like, this isn't my work. And every time I say that, it pulls me back in. And it's interesting because one of my teachers will say, you know, human design, you don't choose human design, it chooses you. And what's been interesting is it was actually some former clients of mine and dear friends who are close confidants that challenged me a couple of years ago and said, why are you not doing this? You can't help yourself. It has become a language for you, and you do it even when you don't think you are. And they said, I don't understand why you're not just stepping into the place to know this is what you're here to do. And it was really kind of earth shaking because I had come off a sabbatical I wasn't planning in my business. That also was sort of, I'd been back in that corporate energy and some things had shown up that I'm like, whoa, what is going on in my business again? That all of a sudden I came back and I said, oh, I went into my chart, I studied it. And one of the things that I love about human design so much is it validates and confirms what you already know about yourself. What you have always known about yourself on the deepest level, but through conditioning, imprinting, the BS, the narrative, you have been told in one way, shape, or form that you're either too much or not enough or both. And for me, I have a lot of energy in my chart. I have a lot of a vibe, probably coming across even now. I walk in a room, I have an energy that walks before me, and I got told my entire life, Candy, you're too much. When I actually gave myself permission to really sit with my chart, my design, and contemplate, I realized that my too muchness is my freaking gift. My too muchness is my superpower. And just even recently on my podcast, I had a guest that I interviewed that she wrote a book called Too Much. And she's like, if you feel you're too much, go find the spaces where you're enough. And I feel like human design gives you that permission slip that you have been craving, your soul has been screaming for. And the minute you see it, and again, it's a map and it's an energetic blueprint. So even for the people that are engineers, because I do a lot of this work with engineers and in the STEM community, you can't deny what your energy shows you when it's mapped out in front of you and you get to take a breath. I had an 88-year-old grandmother 2 weeks ago. Her granddaughter gifted her a reading with me. And on the call, after she told me she lost her spark, she went, wee! I feel so free. And I finally get to be who I've always been meant to be. And we cried together and it was awesome.
Wow. Brilliant.
Thank you for sharing that, Candy. I can't imagine just the awakening, the people experience when they step into those moments. I can't wait to do mine just to figure it out, even though I think I already sense where, my energy is and all. But, thank you for showing up the way you do and sharing so much about, that G-spot moment for you. And it had me thinking, because of course you're a woman with experience. You've traveled, you've had many experiences. You're on, you're helping people unravel that which they probably already sense about themselves. But then, get the sort of assurance of who they really were meant to be and who they are. What advice would you give to the next generation of women leaders? And I know we've talked a lot about the feminine energy and how, the lenses and the ways in which women show up. What would you give to the next generation of women leaders who are confused, who are not sure how to show up, who to be?
Yeah.
The world says be this way, be that way. What would you say as someone who understands human design?
Oh, That is a brilliant question, and it gets me really excited because I've done a lot of work with the next generation. I had a 17-year-old I got to do work with, and like kids they're coming in with the new codes for the higher level consciousness of leadership we're evolving into. So they already are wired to disrupt and to change and to bring a new conversation to the table and create a revolution. And so the biggest advice I would give to them is, even though it might be uncomfortable, don't let anyone dim your light or diminish your voice, because you are the guides that are here to lead those of us that are Gen Xers and baby boomers into what is shifting in the world right now. Come February 2027, we move into a new cycle for humanity. It's called the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix in human design. Don't need to know all that. But every 400 years, we go through a cycle in humanity. And we are at the end of this industrial revolution, this imbalanced masculine energy, let's homogenize and make everything the same. And we're moving into this really delicious, divine, individualized feminine energy that when the new generation can show up in the codes that they are already bringing and not let the narrative and the imprinting and other people's fear shut them down, and find the communities that people see them as the sages and the guides, even though they're young, we really have an opportunity to tune into our youth right now. Whitney said it right? The children are our future. That if they can remind themselves that their energy is actually here to provoke and disrupt, and they are not here to fit in a system that is imploding, don't let anyone dim your light or diminish your voice. Trust that if it is coming through, you are a channel for a reason, and you are here to lead that forward.
Thank you so much, Candy. That was truly powerful. And if I was a young woman listening right now, I would just feel liberated, liberated by what you just said. That's how I would feel right now.
100%.
So you know what? Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back for our G Roundtable.
Are you looking for a unique gift for baby showers, bedtime songs, fun time songs, and songs that teach lessons? Family road trip songs the whole family will enjoy. Songs that will trigger young imaginations. Nurture and educate your children, but adults will enjoy too? Then choose a Children's Song a Day book. This extraordinary book experience contains 1,000 songs in 5 volumes that will delight children age 4 through 12, along with eye-popping illustrations and lyrics. Each song can be downloaded via a QR code on each page in 2 versions, one with full song, the other for a karaoke experience. Lyrics, melody, and singing are the creation and talent by Dr. Swapna Abraham, who embarked on a 1,000-day journey setting 4 world records in singing songwriting by the Golden Book of World Records. Each song is crafted for children to inspire dreams and explore life's wonders. They're available now on any Amazon near you, so get yours now and start singing.
It makes me want to frown down the hills, down the ocean.
Okay, we're back, and this is still G Women Radio, and yes, you're listening to the G Spot. And just before we went on that commercial break, we were talking to a very special guest, Candy Barone, who's here in the studio with us, and she's been sharing fireworks. Just in case you've been receiving them, there's been a lot of energy and, high vibration and a lot of liberation as well. So, we're excited to have her here in the studio with us, and it's time for our G Roundtable. Over to you, Frankie.
Thank you, Alex. Whoa, Candy. We're talking about women disrupting the status quo with radical ideas, with the audacity to innovate. Now, you just touched on this with Alex's last question, but I'm still going to ask my question, because the world, as we know it today, is in a state of chaos. It is. And I believe that the best time for systems to change is in chaos. Now, you wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, there's a leadership revolution underway. You just said that. The old systems are falling apart. The new starts with the quality of our connections. My question then, with so much negativity, hostility, hatred, lack of ethics and morality that we see play out daily, who do you see rising? And you just told us, the young people, to take us into the new era that you speak of, but how will they get our attention? And more importantly, how can we have quality connections in such a state of contention?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. First, I will say that how we get attention during this time is what I will call, it's a phrase that sort of dropped in for me. It's going underneath the noise. So I think about some of the old Underground Railroad kind of energy and mentality. It's not trying to be louder. And by the way, sometimes when I say for people to raise their voice, amplify their voice, I'm not talking about volume. I'm talking about clarity of message. I'm talking about being very intentional about your focus, who your audience is, and your purpose. Social media, for example, is a cesspool of noise. It is not necessarily, and when you do, it's in your communities that you've already built, or it's in ways that you're going underneath the conversation, so that it's almost like you're creating a whisper to those, because those that get it, those that are soul-led visionary transformational leaders, even if they don't qualify themselves that way, they're feeling an ache, they're restless, they're waking up at night, they're like, I can't shake this nagging feeling that I'm getting pushed into something more. We are in an energy this year that is asking those leaders to step into their brave. And it's where, we have the tendency to dig our heels in and go, I don't want to do that. That's so big. That's going to be like, that's way vulnerable. That's really creating visibility, even though, we live in this dichotomy where we beg that someone would really, really see us. But on the same hand, we fear someone really, really seeing us. And so visibility can be very challenging right now, because it means you're going to stand in a point of view that oftentimes is going to go against the grain. It's going to be pushing up against the stream. And so when you can understand that it's not about screaming your message from the hilltops, it's about getting so clear. I call it the lighthouse. You get so refined in your clarity of message, in the intentionality of your message, and in the frequency and vibration of your message, that you become a lighthouse, that you are drawing in the boats that want to take safe harbor in that conversation. And you are propelling or repelling out all those boats that are not supposed to dock in your space. And because right now, I will say the universe is like, I get you're scared. You need to step into your courage and your brave. We are in a disruptive cycle for a purpose. This is all happening for a purpose, to implode and break down these systems that no longer serve and probably never did. And
Absolutely.
it's tapping on the shoulders of those of us that know we came in, even if we can't explain it, we know we're here for something big. We are here with great purpose at this time. I feel like the universe says, you got two choices. You know how to swim. You're standing on the diving board, looking over, going, oh, crap. And the universe goes, you know how to swim, and I'm pushing you in. You can go in and know and trust you know how to swim, and do a little swan dive, and it can look pretty. Or you're going to go in with your mouth open, suck down a bunch of water, and then remember after you flail about, oh, wait, I still can swim. So you can make this really difficult, or you make this easy. And so the opportunity is not that we are here and need to create a message for everyone. The opportunity is to get your message so refined, so dialed in, that it's like a beacon. And I will say, I've seen it happen for me. I've seen it happen for my clients. I just this week, I had an old client go, Candy, I need you again. We need to talk. I'm talking to her after this call, because that lighthouse is so dialed in that those people are seeking me for that conversation. I don't have to go find or push or force, which is the noise of where everybody's caught in right now. And I'm standing in my own sovereignty, instead of thinking that there is any kind of reality or truth in the fact that there is power over. Doesn't exist. And the minute we get enough people, I call it the Care Bear stare, when we get enough people that know their own sovereignty and know that they came with a light, we line them up and create that Care Bear stare. I'm dating myself, if you ever remember the cartoon. But it's that ability to create a tipping point that when enough people remember their sovereignty, all of this noise evaporates. There is no power over, there's only power within. The problem is we have bought into a narrative that says somebody else has power over us.
Yeah, and the Japanese have a word for crisis, and it's danger and opportunity. And I love that, because when you move and you make that move, the opportunity exists there. And those connections, we all know when you whisper, people have to lean in and they want to hear what you're saying. They want to make sure they catch everything. But when you're loud,
100%.
it's like, I don't want to, too much noise out there. And it's interesting because, we look at, I'm just thinking about G Woman and this, wonderful world that we have created here and are creating here. We are like a whisper, but it's a beacon because women need a place like us. They need a place to come and amplify their voice, whether it's loud or soft. They need a place to be them. And so really you are helping people find who they are on the inside because they've been afraid to find out who they are.
100%. And it's one of the reasons, truthfully, I feel so honored to be invited in this space because there's an alignment and a reason that you and I got connected, Frankie, because someone was like, you need to be in conversation together. And so that's what happens when we know who we are, when we can get into a space of our own personal power and sovereignty and we stop diminishing our voice or dimming our light. What happens is the right synchronicities and serendipities happen because the universe, and I love the way Gabby Bernstein says this, the universe is always a yes.
Wow.
The universe is always a yes to what you're putting out. And so when we talk about connections, we live in a culture that's all about complaining and commiserating. Our metric for success on a large scale is who can outsuck who. We have conversations around, oh, my life is so busy and it's so hard and I got 20 million plates I'm spinning. And then someone else goes, oh, please, girl, you think you're busy? Let me tell you how much my life sucks. And like, that's the way we engage and interact. It's this, my life sucks more, I win. What we're missing is sacred containers. I also will say my other kind of beef is the myth that I would like to dispel, to go back to a question before, is stop talking about building tables. I am so over people going, if they don't invite you to a table, build another table. No, we need to stop putting something between us and our heartline energy. What we need is campfire circles and living room couches where we're actually in energy together, in contact where we're not touching or sometimes are, and we can feel the heartbeat of another person so that we can listen with our soul and tell stories and be vulnerable and stop hiding behind social media and stop hiding behind another table. And that's how we build connection. It's when we invite people in to see what's messy. It's when we invite people in to see what feels vulnerable and scary. And leadership is knowing it sucks and it's scary and you got to go first.
I love that. I love that.
Literally just you showing up and inviting people into that space.
Leaders aren't perfect. And they need to let people know they're not perfect. They're just the ones who stood up and said, I can do this.
Yep.
I love that. I love that so much. Wow. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that, Alex or Swapna?
I would just say there's just something beautiful about how she describes it. And when she was, just talking about how, first of all, going under the noise, right? And finding I'm trying to put it in very simple terms, right? My understanding of what she said is like, when you go under the noise and almost finding your alignment and your tribe. Exactly, finding your tribe. And first thing I thought was G Woman. Right? That was the first thing I thought. But it also made me think about the conversation we had last week where we kept saying, everyone is not for you and you're not for everyone. Right? Yeah. And when you find, for example, we have an archetype of where we feel, of the type of women that we feel are aligned, the gifted, the genius, the game changing, and how they show up and how they are. And she talks about the circle and, that circle of connection, which is also what we're trying to create. But it just also made me think about how so many people are disillusioned, separated, feel a lot of separation from communities, right? The communities or the picture of what a community is supposed to be, and how people feel almost misaligned with the vision that's been sold, right? And she talked about, women, we all say, let's create a table for ourselves, and nobody creates a table. But really what we want is, and this is what we've been sharing, even within our different, calls and conversations, is how it's about the power of the collective. We coming together, we doing more together, we feeling staying connected, and not just what you can do on your own and how you can be on your own, but really creating that center. So I was just, feel listening to her, and I thought that was powerful in many ways, and still internalizing a lot of what Candy was saying.
May I offer you a new currency for math? A new currency that we're moving into that creates a new math for how we look at this. We've been taught that 1 + 1 is 2. When you do exactly what you just summarized, and we bring people into a collective energy that is aligned and the right vibration, 1 + 1 becomes 20,
12.
becomes 200,
Right.
becomes 2,000, becomes 2 million.
Yes.
It is an exponential factor of ripple that goes out, that all it takes is a collective handful of people aligned in the right way to create a tipping point that changes the vibration for humanity 100%.
What came up for me was, we're not texting people. We're not asking people to come to a website and sign up. We are conversing with individuals. We are talking to them, woman to woman, and human being to human being. And I think that is a huge, because we're meeting them where they are. I think that for me, that's everything. I really do not like texting. I think a lot is lost when you text.
Yeah, and I think that we on this, it's interesting, and I hope that people who are listening right now, if you're in the chat room and you'll listen to this conversation, don't forget that you can also be part of this conversation. By the way, you can click on join the conversation and join the chat room, and you can leave your questions, your comments, your statements, or even send a voice message, or dial the virtual studio, and you can come in and ask Candy a question, share something. Who knows? Maybe she might, tell you something about yourself that you probably don't already. Whatever it is. But don't forget, you can join the conversation if you're listening right now. I know that Swapna, you there?
Yes, I am, Alex.
Okay, so maybe we should just move into the G Spotlight.
I say yes. And thank you so much for that, Alex. Candy, gosh, this is like dynamite. I don't feel preached. I don't feel preached to, but the fire in the room is just so blazing. I'm floored. It feels like both Mulan and Moana got on the set at the same time.
Ooh, I'll take that. That's lovely.
I love that. Mulan and Moana.
I mean, seriously, I just don't know what it's like. Something's hit me so hard, right? So I think you've answered the question again, but this is the G Spotlight moment, Candy. I'm not going to ask you for your bold insight. Everything that you're saying is a bold insight, or your legacy drop for that matter. What do you think was, you can't call it performance, what you do, right? But what do you think was perhaps the most impactful thing that you did being Candy?
Holy crap. I don't even know how to answer that question. Again, I almost want to be like, what point of my time? Honestly, you know what the most no, I know the answer to that. The most impactful thing is finally, fully, without apology, allowing myself to be the fullness of who I am in my radical authenticity, and being aligned AF in the process. It is really embracing the fact that I love the Moana and Mulan reference, like, for sure, because I am a lot for a lot of people, and I am perfectly okay with that. And the way to summarize this question, or the response to this question, I saw a meme that forever changed me, and it said, if people think you're too much, tell them to go find less. And that, when I embrace that allows me to stand in what I signed in my soul contract, to be the catalyst that lights a fire under people so that they can learn to light the fire in. When I stand in that, I am able to put my gifts in service to others, which is the whole meaning of life. Meaning of life is very simple. We are all here with our gifts to put those gifts in service to those we are here to serve, as our piece of the cosmic puzzle in humanity. And when I stand in my fullness and radical authenticity, I am able to do that in every interaction and every impact. It's, as I say, leadership is a choice. It's how you choose to show up. It's how you choose to serve others. And it's how you choose to take personal responsibility inside those spaces. And it starts with you.
Thank you, Candy. I can just listen to you forever, but I'm going to be kind over here and give it over to Frankie for our G voices. Go on, Frankie.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Swapna. We do have people in the chat room, and they're saying, "I think I love Candy."
I love you too. I love you too.
Gosh.
Right? I love you. I don't have, if we can hate for no reason, I can love you for no reason. I love you. I love everybody that is here. And that's the other piece of cutting through the noise. Stop
They
getting,
love you.
stop
And they want
getting
to
sucked
be you.
in to that narrative of hate and division, and find the paths of love. Find the paths of light. They're there. We just don't have marketing and media that is showcasing that. There is as much or more good in the world than there is all of this chaos going on.
I agree with that. And I have to tell people that all the time, because I think the world is so negative, and I'm like, you hear the negative. You don't.
That's because
hear
negativity
the
sells.
It
It's
sells
a
and it's
seller's
loud.
market.
Yeah.
Be a different buyer.
They're also saying they think you're a poet.
I am, actually. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
I
am. I
love
have
that.
a volume of poetry that's, I am a poet.
Oh,
Thank you.
nice. I don't think we asked you if you have books or anything. So, you have a book of poetry.
Not published, but I do have a book of public. That's one of my jumping off the ledge of, I think it's time to put it out there. I do have a handful of books, two that are collaborative, one that's a children's book, and then also my You Empowered Strong Infinite Possibilities in the Power of Yes. That was the first book I wrote when I left corporate. And I'm in the process of working on probably about 5 others right now in true form to me being a manifesting generator.
Wow. Oof. Okay. That's a
But
lot.
I do write. I do have a blog. I write. I have a LinkedIn newsletter. I write on Medium. I write on Substack, and I write on my blog. So you can find my writing in multiple places. I write regularly.
That's amazing. I love that.
Lovely.
You're a writer, and I hope that you'll write for us as well.
Ooh, I'd love to.
Okay, just to share a little bit more from the comment section, just some of the stuff that you've been sharing. Somebody says that's really kind of cool. We arrange or reorganize the building blocks of our life to achieve various limitless possibilities. For me, it is so empowering to know that. And then someone says, "Oh, as a former mechanical engineer, how do you apply Oh, okay, they've got questions for you." Okay. Oh, okay. So before we get to that, somebody repeated what you said. You said women's femininity needs to be soft. That's a myth, and they say correct. And then they say radical authenticity. Love that. We need to start campfire circles, and of course they're quoting you. But to the question, and I know Frankie probably has some more to add to that. Do you want me to read the question from here?
Yeah, read it. Go ahead.
Okay, so she says, oh, I don't know, I'm assuming she is. As a former mechanical engineer, how do you apply principles of mechanics and systems thinking? Oh, so I think you might have answered this, right, to the beginning of your question. So maybe this probably came pretty early in the conversation. Okay.
Well, and I mean, I'll add another layer to that. So I'll give you an example of how I use the processes and the principles that I've learned in my engineering discipline and my study, especially when you look at Six Sigma, which is all about getting to a root cause and really being able to assess patterns and the way things move and operate that are inefficient so that you can create the right effectiveness and efficiencies. Let's take something like imposter syndrome or burnout. I have a friend who I do work in imposter syndrome, obviously, but she is an expert in imposter syndrome. And we had a conversation. I said, you do realize where imposter syndrome stems for each person is different. And while you can apply strategies in a general sense to here's how you overcome imposter syndrome, which, by the way, also only shows up for people that are at growth's edge. Imposter syndrome is not a weakness. Imposter syndrome says you're a badass because you're at growth's edge. It's why it's showing up. It's only for high performers. And so if you're feeling it, know that you're a badass and you're a high performer. But burnout's the same thing. It doesn't come from the same place for all of us. And when I can look at your chart and see and point to, here's where your imposter syndrome comes from. Is there a resonance for you? And people go, holy crap, how did you know that? It's because your chart tells me that. We can then build very specific customized strategies to help you navigate through imposter syndrome or burnout that are going to be meaningful for you. Because what happens is we see some influencer, most of the time a male, who's out there telling you how their morning routine and evening routine is. And you as a woman, who, by the way, we have very different rhythms than men. Men have a 24-hour cycle. Women have a 28 to 30-day cycle. When we don't, first of all, align our habits, rituals, ways to support ourselves for how we're wired, just male or female, but then how we're wired in our design, no wonder why you get frustrated when you're like, I try to do the Tony Robbins way and it doesn't work. No, for real. I'm going to
No
try
shit,
not to
Sherlock,
swear.
right?
Because I swear all the time. I'm trying not to swear. But like, no kidding. You're not here to be Tony Robbins. You're not a 6'8" giant who's like got about as much alpha energy as you can throw at a person. You're not here to be Tony Robbins. You're here to be in your feminine rhythm, whatever that looks like, and create rituals. And I'm going to say the word rituals for women in particular, rituals
Nice.
that support you, nourish
I
you,
said nice.
nurture you. Nice, right? The ultimate four-letter word behind busy. But it's that space of you find rituals that support you, that nourish you, that nurture you, and that give you a way to really create pathways for self-love, which again is where your magic lives. When you learn to love yourself and cut out everybody else's opinion of who they think you should be, and you stand in that with conviction, and you stand in that, my favorite expression to people are like, Candy, you're aggressive. Okay. Or my other response is, and? Like, okay. Or I might say, thanks. And then they look at me, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything with what you offered me. I don't even like you, let alone respect you, and didn't ask for your opinion. But it's that space of knowing, okay, like, okay, and getting comfortable being in a space that says my rituals need to be designed for me. That's how you apply the mechanical engineering mindset and process to how you use things like human design and leadership. Again, it's the same, we just call it some different things, and it looks a little different.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Candy. Candy, we're just reading all the comments about how your energy is amazing and she's a light bulb. And we're like, oh my God, something's going on. And we only have 3 minutes before we wrap this up. And I was going to take a quick musical break, but it doesn't seem like we have time for that. What do you ladies think? I feel like Candy deserves something.
Yeah.
She deserves a little something. So we'll just a little teaser, then we'll take out my drops and yes. Okay, quick one.
What are you waiting for? What kind of invitation do you need? If I invited you, how would you RSVP? I might be there, but I can't be sure. Don't know what's outside my front door. Oh yes, I'm coming. You can count me in. I'll bring the party. 'Cause you can dance all night, dance if you want. I'm doing your own thing, not a care in the world. Dance all night, dance if you want. I'm making your own rules. You got nothing to prove. Who are you waiting for?
Ooh, what a good song.
Absolutely.
Love that. Miss Alex, are you with us?
Oh my God, I was talking to myself. What the hell? The last minute frequency. I was just saying that was RSVP from Danielle Taylor, and obviously that was dedicated to Candy and her energy, and hope you would take her invitation to RSVP and take part in your own human design. That's all I was saying. And, the
Nice.
frequency was jamming. But, just before we wrap this up, ladies, what would you say is your mic drop moments from our conversation with Candy?
I wish I could read my writing, but I have to paraphrase it a little bit about how women's femininity needs to be soft and how she's over that container and box about how women are expected or allowed to show up. And I 100% on that one. Yeah. We can show up any way we want.
Swapner?
For me, it was Candy when you said, if you're too much, then it's another space. Thank you for that.
Well, for me, it was everything she said. Everything she said. And so we're just going to quickly take the opportunity to thank you all. Thank you, Candy, for joining us. And thank you.
Oh, thank you.